Hey everyone, I'm here to give you my thoughts on this year's NCAA basketball tournament. This year is a special year for a lot of people that I know who are fans of basketball, of college basketball, especially in Kansas, because for the first time, both Kansas and Kansas State are the top, are basically ranked on the top seeds, if you will. You see, Kansas, as we know, is the overall #1 pick in this tournament, and they're the #1 seed in the Midwest region. Kansas State is the #2 seed in the West region, and as we have seen on ESPN and all the ESPN networks last night, and I'm pretty sure on CBS, there were some people that are predicting an all-Kansas Final Four matchup. That's right, they are predicting Kansas State and Kansas to face each other in the Final Four, in one of the Final Four matches, which would arguably be the fourth time that's happened, and I'm sure that's happened a lot in basketball this year that they would meet. But let's look at it this way. Let's look at the #1 seeds: Kansas, Syracuse, Kentucky, Duke. Now, on the CBS Sports website, one of the reporters says that Syracuse shouldn't have gotten the #1 seed, that West Virginia should have gotten that #1 seed instead. Well, believe me, there's a lot of friends that I know up in Kansas, and especially the amount that are KSU fans, that would argue Kansas State should have got the #1 seed. But then again, the #1s always go to the conference winners, to the conference tournament winners, that is. Anyway, let's look down this matchup. I'm not going to read too much into it because you got 65 teams here, and quite honestly, I'm going to flat out say this right now. They should get rid of that 65th, that opening round deal. I mean, I can understand there's a lot of NCAA one, a lot of conferences, a lot of NCAA one conferences when it comes to basketball and even baseball and a few other sports. But come on, do you seriously need 65? 64 is good. That's 65. And if you're going to do the opening round game, no offense, don't do it on cable television. Don't do it on ESPN. Do it on CBS. That's what I would do. I'd take the time out, do it on CBS, and I would choose, I'd keep Dayton Arena, but I would choose CBS, not ESPN. But no offense. That's the way I would do it. But again, I would just get rid of the opening round game. But then again, I know that they want to give a lot of teams, a lot of conference champions an opportunity to prove that they are worthy of being among the elite group of teams in this tournament, if you can even believe an elite group. But anyway, I'm going to look this down, and I'm going to go with a few. All right, I'm going to look at who's going to get to the Sweet 16. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go like this, Sweet 16, if you will. I'm going to go in the Sweet 16 from the Midwest. This is who I see in the Sweet 16. I see Kansas, Michigan State against each other in one matchup. I see Ohio State and Oklahoma State, two OSU teams, as well as I see, and this is going to be, here's one first shocker I'm going to look at right here. Georgetown against San Diego State. That's one of the upsets I'm going with. San Diego State beating Tennessee. And that's the Sweet 16 in the Midwest. Here's the Sweet 16 in the West. I see Syracuse. I see Gonzaga. I see Syracuse. I see UTEP against each other. Yes, I do. Because I think UTEP is going to be another upset you got to keep an eye for. But I'm going to go Syracuse, UTEP, because they might shock you. And in the other Sweet 16 matchup in the West, I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I'm going to go... Oh, excuse me. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the elite. I'm looking at the 32 pack here on the West. I'm sorry. Okay, let's start over there. Sweet 16. I see Syracuse going to the Sweet 16, and their opponent, I'm going to stick with UTEP. I've got a feeling about them. And then the other Sweet 16 matchup in the West, and I apologize again for messing up here. I see Xavier, and I see Kansas State. That, and I'm going to go with that because I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same way. So Xavier, Kansas State, Syracuse, UTEP in the Sweet 16 for the West. Sweet 16 when it comes to the East. I'm going with Kentucky. I'm going with, believe it or not, I'm going to go with what the guy said on ESPN here. Cornell is one of them. I'm going to go with Marquette. That's right, Marquette. And Missouri. That's what I'm going with. Marquette, Missouri. If I'm wrong, go ahead and comment and tell me how wrong I am, man. But I'm going to go with them. So Kentucky, Cornell, one Sweet 16 matchup in the East. Marquette, Missouri, the other Sweet 16 matchup. Then in the South, I have Duke against, are you ready for this? I'm going to go with Purdue. That's right, Duke and Purdue. There. I mean, I like California, but I don't think California's going to get it done against Duke. All due respect. And then in the other Sweet 16 matchup, I see Baylor. And I'm going to go with another surprise, St. Mary's. That's right, St. Mary's and Baylor, and the other one in the South. And then in the Elite Eight, I've got Kansas moving on, and I've got them facing Ohio State. I know that sounds cliche, and again, you can tell me how wrong I am, but I've got Kansas and Ohio State. And the Elite Eight for the West, for the Midwest, that is. In the West, I have Kansas State in the Elite Eight, and I have Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. That's right, Kansas State, Gonzaga in the Elite Eight for the West region. And then, in the East, I have Kentucky in the Elite Eight, and I have Marquette in the Elite Eight. That's right, Kentucky, Marquette for the East region's Elite Eight. And then for the South, of course, I have Duke in the Elite Eight, and I have Baylor in the Elite Eight. And then in the Final Four, I'm going to start backwards this time. In the Final Four, from the East, I have Kentucky. Scratch it. I have Marquette advancing to the Final Four. And they will face Duke in the Final Four. That's what I look at. Duke. I'm looking at Duke, and I'm looking at Marquette in the Final Four. East region versus South. Midwest and West, of course, I'm going to go with everybody's pick here. The fourth matchup this year of Kansas State in the Midwest, West region of the Final Four. So your Final Four, Kansas State, 8, Marquette, Duke. And then in the National Championship, Kansas, Duke. That's what I have. And I may be a little biased here, but to end this, Kansas winning the National Championship. And that is my picks on who's going to get to the Elite Eight, the Sweet 16, and the Final Four of this tournament. I'm going to hang this on my wall, and scratch out who's right and who's wrong. And again, if I'm wrong about certain picks this week, go ahead and comment on my board and tell me how wrong I was. And heck, if you want to tell me how wrong I am with these picks, go ahead. But that's all I'm going to say. I hope you have a good day. God bless. Take care.